In the early morning hours of April 15th, 1912, one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history unfolded. The RMS Titanic, a majestic ship touted as unsinkable, met its tragic end in the icy waters of the North Atlantic. This is the story of that fateful voyage. Launched in 1912, the RMS Titanic was the largest and most luxurious ocean liner of its time. Designed by the White Star Line, it was meant to redefine luxury and safety, carrying the wealthiest and most influential people across the Atlantic. It was a ship like no other. With its luxurious accommodations, state-of-the-art technology, and the promise of an unsinkable hull, the Titanic represented the pinnacle of human achievement. But no one knew that the Titanic's maiden voyage would also be its last. On April 10, 1912, Titanic set sail from Southampton, bound for New York City. The voyage seemed perfect until the night of April 14th, when disaster struck. As the Titanic cruised through the icy waters of the North Atlantic, an iceberg loomed in its path. Despite multiple warnings from nearby ships, Captain Smith pressed on at full speed. "Frederick Fleet iceberg, right ahead." At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck the iceberg. The collision caused a massive gash in the hull, flooding the lower decks. Water rushed in faster than the ship could withstand. The ship's unsinkable design, with its watertight compartments, failed to keep the floodwaters at bay. The Titanic was doomed. As the ship began to sink, chaos ensued. There were not enough lifeboats for all the passengers, and many were forced to face the bitter cold waters of the Atlantic. The class divide became evident, as first-class passengers were given priority access to the lifeboats, while third-class passengers were left trapped below deck. By 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, the Titanic had disappeared into the icy depths of the Atlantic. Over 1,500 people perished that night. In the aftermath, the world was left in shock. The tragedy led to major reforms in maritime safety, including the requirement for enough lifeboats for every passenger, and more rigorous iceberg warnings. The legacy of the Titanic endures. It remains a symbol of human ambition, hubris, and tragedy. The story of its sinking reminds us of the fragility of life and the unrelenting power of nature. The RMS Titanic may have been a marvel of its time, but its legacy serves as a solemn reminder. No ship, no matter how grand, is truly unsinkable. And so, the Titanic story lives on, a tragic chapter in the history of human ambition and a reminder of the power of the sea.